In 1929, a historian inside a quiet archive in Istanbul unfolded a piece of parchment that had been hidden for centuries. At first, it looked like just another old world map. Faded ink, hand-drawn coastlines, notes written in Ottoman script. But then researchers noticed something strange. Near the bottom of the map, there was a coastline that looked surprisingly familiar. It seemed to resemble the outline of Antarctica. That alone would be unusual, except this map was created in 1513, more than 300 years before Antarctica was officially discovered. And what made the mystery even deeper was this. The coastline didn't appear to be covered in ice. It looked like exposed land. So how could a 16th century map show a continent that modern explorers wouldn't even reach until the 1800s? Was it coincidence, a mistake in interpretation, or evidence that ancient knowledge of the world was more advanced than we realize? The map was created by an Ottoman admiral and cartographer named Piri Reis. Unlike many mapmakers of his time, he left notes explaining exactly how he created his chart. He wrote that he didn't rely on just one source. Instead, he combined multiple older maps. Some came from Portuguese explorers who had recently crossed the Atlantic. Others were said to come from even older charts passed down through generations of sailors. That detail matters, because if Piri Reis copied earlier maps, then the real mystery might not be the map itself, but the unknown maps that came before it. And that raises a question historians still debate today. Where did those earlier maps come from? To understand why this matters, it helps to imagine the world of the early 1500s. Navigation was still developing. There were no satellites, no accurate global positioning systems. Sailors relied on stars, wind patterns, and rough measurements of distance. Maps were often incomplete or distorted. Yet the surviving portion of the Piri Reis map shows surprising detail. The western coast of Africa is recognizable. Parts of South America appear with reasonable accuracy. And then there is that mysterious southern coastline. Some researchers believe it might represent the southern tip of South America stretched and distorted by mapping errors. Others argue that parts of it look strangely similar to Antarctica's coastline. But here's the problem. Antarctica is buried beneath massive ice sheets, in some places more than a mile thick. If the map truly shows the continent, why would it appear without ice? This question became even more interesting in the mid-20th century. During the 1950s, scientists began studying Antarctica in ways that had never been possible before. Using radar and seismic technology, they started mapping the landscape hidden beneath the ice. For the first time, researchers could see the mountains, valleys, and coastlines buried under frozen layers thousands of years old. Some observers noticed that certain parts of these hidden coastlines appeared similar to shapes seen on the Piri Reis map. The resemblance wasn't exact, but it was enough to spark decades of debate. Did the map contain fragments of ancient geographic knowledge that somehow survived through time? Or were people simply seeing patterns where none existed? Historians generally approach the mystery cautiously. Early maps often stretched coastlines or rotated them in unusual ways. Navigation errors could easily distort the shape of entire continents. In other words, what looks like Antarctica today might actually be an exaggerated extension of South America. But even if the southern section is misinterpreted, the map still raises another fascinating question. Because Piri Reis clearly wrote that some of his sources were extremely old, older than the great voyages of European exploration. And many of those earlier charts have never been found. They may have been lost, destroyed, or simply forgotten, which means the full story behind the map might never be completely known. What makes this map so intriguing is not just the shape of the coastline. It's the reminder that knowledge doesn't appear all at once. It moves through history in fragments. A sailor records a coastline. Another navigator copies the chart. A cartographer combines several maps into one. Over centuries, pieces of information travel across cultures, languages, and empires. By the time Piri Reis created his map in 1513, he may have been compiling knowledge that had already been circulating for generations. Knowledge that no longer exists anywhere else. So the map might not prove that ancient explorers reached Antarctica, but it does reveal something important. The history of discovery is rarely as simple as the dates we remember. Today, the Piri-Reis map remains one of the most discussed historical maps ever discovered. It doesn't rewrite history, but it reminds us that the story of exploration is layered, complex, and sometimes incomplete. Because every map is more than just a drawing of land and sea. It's a record of how people understood the world at a specific moment in time. And sometimes, when those records survive for centuries, they leave behind questions that modern science can't fully answer. So the next time you look at an ancient map, ask yourself something simple. Are you seeing the world as it truly was, or the echoes of knowledge that history has partially forgotten? If you enjoy mysteries like this, hidden geography, lost knowledge, and unexplained discoveries, subscribe for more stories that explore the strange places where history and curiosity meet.